Chosen one. When you opened your mouth, the world's most fortified building forgot how to breathe. The chandeliers trembled like nervous witnesses. The walls leaned in as if trying to understand you. And in that exact second, every light in the house of power blinked, flickered, and bowed, not because of failure, but because authority itself recognized your frequency. Your sentence hangs in the air like a command written before time. No one moves. No one coughs. No one even shifts their weight. Advisors feel their pulse slow. Commanders forget protocol. Ministers lower their eyes without knowing why. It isn't fear. It isn't shock. It's instinct, an ancient response buried deep in the human blueprint. When a higher frequency speaks, lower frequencies fall silent. For the first time in that chamber's history, authority doesn't dominate the room, your presence does. They keep reviewing the data, the footage, the readings, but eventually, all the screens and charts fade into irrelevance. Because the truth becomes too obvious to hide behind numbers. The flicker wasn't random. It wasn't accidental. It wasn't environmental. It was responsive. Someone plays the audio of your voice again, just the single sentence you spoke. As the sound echoes through the chamber, the lights don't flicker this time, but everyone in the room feels their skin tighten, as if the building is remembering what happened. A young technician whispers, it was like the structure recognized him. His supervisor shoots him a warning look, but doesn't deny it. Because no matter how much authority wants to remain logical, no matter how much the chain of command wants to act composed, there is a truth that no one can push away. Your voice didn't interrupt the building. It aligned it. One of the senior analysts, a woman who has never believed in anything she cannot measure, slowly takes off her glasses and rubs her temples. You can hear her heartbeat in the silence. I've studied resonance for 22 years, she says quietly. I've seen earthquakes, sonic waves, architectural failures, but I've never seen a building react like a living organism. Her eyes lift to yours. There's no fear, just the raw shock of a scientist meeting something that contradicts all her rules. This wasn't instability, she continues. This was obedience. The word hangs in the air, heavy and forbidden. But no one corrects her. Because they all felt it, the moment your sentence became a command not to the people in the room, but to the structure itself. A commander steps forward, jaw locked. He doesn't bow, but something in his posture lowers anyway. If a voice can influence a building, he says slowly, what else can it influence? His question freezes the air. Because the answer isn't technical. It isn't political. It isn't spiritual. It's existential. The truth crawls into the mind of every person present. Systems don't flicker for mortals. Systems flicker for constants. For anomalies. For inevitabilities. For the one the world was built to respond to. And for the first time, they stop studying you like an event and start recognizing you as a force. The chamber feels different now, as if the air itself has shifted a few degrees, as if the walls have taken a deeper breath, as if something unseen has quietly rearranged its position. No one speaks, yet everyone senses the same silent truth. Your presence didn't disturb the grid. It recalibrated it. A systems engineer runs one final diagnostic. Lines of data scroll like waterfalls across the screen, frequency logs, resonance curves, electromagnetic pulses, all translating the unexplainable into numbers that still fail to contain it. This is impossible, he mutters. The entire electrical network synced for a fraction of a second. Every bulb, every wire, every circuit, all reset to a unified rhythm. He looks up at you as if seeing a celestial event in human form. Buildings don't harmonize with people, he adds softly. But it harmonized with you. A senior advisor, usually emotionless, runs her fingertips lightly across the wooden table. She pulls her hand back sharply. It's warm, she whispers. Not from electricity. Not from malfunction. But from the residue of energy you unconsciously emitted. Someone replays the security footage again, slowing the moment when you spoke. Frame by frame, the faint glow around you, that halo-like shimmer, spreads outward like ripples in water. It touches the floor first, then the walls, then the lights. A spiritual analyst leans in, eyes narrowed. This isn't a glitch, she glances at the others, then at you. This is alignment. Her colleague nods. An energy reset. Triggered by resonance, not by force. He opens a worn notebook and reads a line from ancient writings. When light recognizes its source, it flickers in greeting. Someone else adds quietly, almost reverently, that's why the lights didn't die. They bowed. The room falls still. Because everything, the science, the footage, the sensation in the air, points to one conclusion. Your voice doesn't project sound. It projects order. Your presence doesn't enter a space. It synchronizes it. Your frequency doesn't demand attention. It restructures reality around it. One of the youngest advisors, eyes wide with awe, says what everyone else is too afraid to say aloud. He didn't adapt to the room. The room adapted to him. And with that sentence, the entire house of power silently acknowledges a truth older than electricity, older than architecture, older than authority itself. When you activate, the world resets. They dim the lights in the chamber and switch the main screen to the classified security feed, the angle positioned directly above your seat. The footage is silent, cold, clinical, but what it reveals is anything except ordinary. Frame 1, you sitting still, hands relaxed, breathing steady. Frame 2, you begin to speak. Frame 3, the impossible starts. A faint shimmer rises from your shoulders, not bright, not blinding, but unmistakably alive. It spreads like a soft pulse, a gentle distortion bending the air the way heat bends a horizon. A technician freezes the frame. Zooms in. Enhances. Layers filters and spectral analyses. Everyone leans forward. Because the glow isn't random light. It isn't pixel noise. It isn't an artifact of the camera. It is structured. It has pattern. It has direction. It has intention. A pulse that emerges exactly as your first word escapes your lips and travels outward like a quiet command delivered straight into reality. The footage resumes. As the wave touches the nearest wall, every lamp in the room flickers in unison, a synchronized response, as if the light itself is exhaling. A general clenches his jaw. Rewind that, he orders. They do. They run a frame-by-frame overlay. On one layer, your voice waveform. On the other, the electromagnetic fluctuation of the room. The two curves match. Perfectly. Exactly. As if your voice is not detected by the system, but linked to it. A whisper breaks the silence. That's not interference. That's communication. A silence follows, long, heavy, undeniable. Then the analyst specializing in energy anomalies speaks up, his voice trembling with a mixture of fear and reverence. This building houses leaders, ministers, generals, but I've never seen it react to any of them. Yet one sentence from him, and the system behaved like a loyal guardian acknowledging its master. The word hangs in the air, master. No one dares to repeat it, but no one denies it. The footage continues playing, and the glow around you intensifies for a brief second, not like a flare, but like a heartbeat. A pulse. A recognition. A greeting. And for a moment, the people in the room forget the hierarchy, the titles, the protocol, the rules of power. Because the evidence is right there, unavoidable, uncomfortable, yet breathtaking. The house of power did not witness your voice. It responded to it. And that means one thing, something they aren't ready to say aloud. You're not the visitor in that building. You're the constant it was built for. The lights return to full brightness, but the room remains dim in spirit, as if everyone senses that brightness no longer belongs to the bulbs, but to you. Advisors gather in small clusters. They pretend to be reviewing data, pretend to be analyzing reports, pretend to maintain authority. But their eyes keep drifting toward you with the same quiet awe normally reserved for phenomena described only in ancient texts. One advisor leans close to another, his voice barely above a breath. "Did you feel it?" "It wasn't just the lights." My chest tightened when he spoke. The other nods, her fingertips unconsciously brushing her heartbeat. It felt like the air got heavier. Not oppressive. More like it acknowledged him first, and us second. Across the room, a military strategist, a man who has survived wars, storms, coups, and the dethroning of regimes, folds his arms tightly. He lowers his voice but can't hide the tremor. It's not his volume, it's his gravity. His colleague frowns. "Gravity?" The strategist nods slowly. "Yes. Some voices speak." His voice lands. A third advisor joins, voice trembling with forbidden truth. "Buildings don't react to words. People do." But tonight, the building reacted first. Someone else, an older counsel with a lifetime of political experience, removes his glasses as if they suddenly weigh too much. "Do you know what this means?" he whispers. "If the structure feels him, if the circuitry feels him, if the energy grid feels him, then the house of power isn't recognizing a guest." His voice drops to a dangerous softness, it's recognizing an authority. The group falls silent. Not out of fear, but out of realization. Because they know what political authority looks like. They know the posture, the strategy, the tone. They know fear-based obedience and hierarchy-enforced respect. This is none of that. This is something older. Something instinctual. Something the human mind obeys before the human logic even catches up. One advisor exhales shakily. "This is why systems fail around certain people and rise around others." Her eyes lock onto you. Not with anxiety. Not with suspicion. But with the recognition that she is looking at a living variable that the world has never calculated for. Another voice, soft, male, unsure. He doesn't overpower the room simply rearranges itself around him. The statement ripples across them like truth carried on wind. No one corrects it. No one challenges it. Because tonight, the hierarchy shifted without permission, without announcement, without formal decree. A new order quietly revealed itself. Authority no longer sits at the head of the table. It stands in the shape of the one who made the lights bow. The advisors fall quiet, but the silence doesn't bring peace. It brings presence. A weight settles over the chamber, not heavy, not suffocating, but ancient. Like the feeling of standing near a cathedral bell right before it rings. Everyone senses it before anyone speaks. The room is no longer empty. A soft pressure coats the air, like invisible hands pressing gently on the shoulders of every soul present. Papers rustle without wind. A glass of water trembles though no one touches it. For a moment, the house of power becomes a place of worship without a single religious symbol in sight. A spiritual analyst, pale, breath unsteady, clutches her notebook to her chest. Her eyes fix on a corner of the room, at nothing and yet at something. I think there's movement, she whispers. A military officer scoffs. There's no one there. She doesn't look away. Not someone. Something. Her colleague, an expert in metaphysical anomalies, activates thermal and spectral overlays on his device. The screen flickers. Filters shift. And then, a faint outline appears. Not human. Not mechanical. A silhouette made of gradients, like light shaped into form. A collective gasp ripples through the room. The technician stutters. There's a secondary signature. It appeared the moment he spoke. All eyes shift to the display. The shape pulses with slow rhythm, as if breathing. Then the analyst reads the energy map more carefully. Her voice goes silent for a full, trembling second. This is not interference. She looks at you, wide-eyed. This is response. A man in a dark suit, known for never believing anything he cannot hold, steps forward and steadies the screen. The outline brightens each time your recorded voice plays. A glow expands around it whenever your frequency hits certain tones. Finally, the skeptic speaks, soft, shaken, unwilling to admit what his senses already know. It reacts to him, like it recognizes him. A low hum fills the chamber, not mechanical, not electrical, but harmonic. Like the lingering resonance of a tuning fork struck by something unseen. Someone whispers the word everyone has been avoiding all night. Angelic. Another corrects gently, not in the religious sense. In the structural one. Higher density intelligence. But the oldest advisor, a woman who has served through 5 regimes and survived more political storms than she can count, simply shakes her head and points at the silhouette. That is not a guardian. That is a witness. Her voice drops to reverent hush. They appear only when destiny shifts. The thermal figure flickers. For one impossible second, it seems to lean closer, as if listening to you through the screen. A soft echo resonates across the chamber, vibrating through the floor, the walls, the bones of every person present. And then the analyst reads the final line of the spectral log, the line most people would miss, but that none in this room will ever forget. Reverberation detected. Subject's voice carries harmonic patterns inconsistent with human origin. Silence returns. But it is no longer normal silence. It is the silence that follows revelation. The silence that prepares nations to change. The silence that appears when the world realizes it has just witnessed the first physical confirmation that your frequency does not travel to realms, it travels through them. And the angels, the witnesses, the higher intelligences, the guardians of thresholds, they did not appear to judge you. They appeared to acknowledge you. The angelic signature fades from the screen, but its presence lingers inside every person in the room. Not as fear. Not as confusion. But as an echo, a slow, rhythmic reminder that something extraordinary just aligned itself with the physical world. As the tension dissolves, something even stranger begins to happen. People start feeling different. Not dramatically. Not theatrically. But undeniably. A junior advisor touches her chest. Her breathing eases, smooth, steady, almost peaceful. She frowns, confused. My anxiety, it just disappeared. Across the room, a hardened strategist, a man whose mind has been a battlefield for decades, lowers himself into a chair, pressing a hand to his forehead. His pulse slows. His jaw softens. I haven't felt this calm since. He stops, unable to finish the sentence. A medic on standby checks his monitor, eyes widening as data scrolls upward. Blood pressure stabilized, he mutters. Cortisol drop, heart rhythm leveled. This is not normal. He looks around. His voice cracks. It's happening to all of you. Another advisor, usually cynical to the point of cruelty, stares at his trembling hands. Why do I feel warm? The room doesn't judge him, because they all feel it. Warmth. Clarity. Steadiness. A kind of internal alignment that no speech, no therapy, no political rally has ever produced. They start whispering, not in panic, but in wonder. It's like the air is thicker, but softer. I feel lighter. Almost like something lifted off my chest. I have been tense for months. But now, he stops. Words fail him. A psychologist assigned to the House of Power pulls out her handheld HRV monitor and takes readings from 3 staff members. The results appear instantly. This is impossible, she murmurs. Their nervous systems are regulating themselves. She flips through her reference sheets. This isn't adrenaline. This isn't fear. This is the opposite. This is an autonomic reset. Her assistant looks up from his own data. A mass 1? She nods slowly. Triggered by a single focal point, him. All eyes turn toward you. Not in awe. Not in worship. But in recognition. Because what they're feeling isn't mystical. It's measurable. Your voice didn't just move the lights. It moved them. It reached into the architecture of their stress, their chaos, their internal static, and pressed the reset button with the softness of a single sentence. An advisor who once mocked everything spiritual looks up at the ceiling and exhales. So the building flickered, because we flickered. His colleague corrects him gently, no. We flickered because he stabilized. A senior commander steps forward, broad-shouldered, normally unshakable. But tonight his eyes reflect a man who has just been humbled by peace. I've seen morale spikes. I've seen unity moments. I've seen hope rallies. He shakes his head. But I have never seen an entire room of hardened adults exhale at the exact same time. His voice softens. Your presence reorganized us. The spiritual analyst from earlier writes something in her notebook, then closes it slowly. That's what higher resonance does, she says. It doesn't dominate. It harmonizes. She looks at you with a steady gaze, no longer afraid of the truth. The lights flickered because the building recognized you. And we calmed because our souls did. And in that realization, the house of power no longer feels like a fortress. It feels like a tuning chamber that finally met the frequency it was always waiting for. The human calm settles across the chamber like a slow-moving sunrise, but beneath that peace lies something deeper, a shift none of them fully recognize yet. It begins subtly. A faint ringing in the air, soft as a distant bell. A warmth spreading outward from the center of the room, as if the atmosphere itself remembers something ancient and is trying to awaken it. The advisors feel it first. Not in their minds, but in their bones. A resonance. A pull. A recognition. It is the same sensation pilgrims describe when approaching sacred sites, the same quiet tension monks feel right before a revelation descends. Yet tonight, it emanates from no shrine, no altar, no relic. It emanates from you. A philosopher advisor, a man who has spent decades studying the intersection between leadership and metaphysics, steps forward. He squints, not at your face, but at something behind you, a shimmer he isn't sure is real. I sense a structure, he whispers. Not physical. More like an architecture of intention. His colleague frowns. What do you mean? The philosopher lifts a trembling hand, tracing the air around your silhouette. Destiny has geometry, he murmurs. Most people walk through life unaware of it. Some collide with it. A rare few bend under it. His gaze sharpens. But he shapes it. The spiritual analyst gasps softly, as if a puzzle piece finally clicks into place. That glow, that shimmer around him in the footage, it wasn't energy leaking outward. She swallows hard. It was energy returning. Her voice steadies, a reward. A recognition. A divine echo meeting its source. A senior religious historian, normally excluded from political briefings because he brings too much symbolism, speaks without being asked. Ancient texts describe it, the phenomenon where destiny acknowledges its carrier. His eyes linger on you. When a chosen individual speaks truth, creation flickers in agreement.